My training team know my body really well. They know what I've been through over the X amount of weeks I've been with them. So it's up to them to...
Here's why this rematch debate has exploded the way it has. When you actually dissect the exchanges, the fight was far closer on paper than many expected. Scroll through the comments and fan reactions and you'll see it immediately. Real controversy, real division. People are passionately arguing both sides, convinced they saw something different, and that tension is exactly what's fueling this conversation right now.
So the right hand found its home. I would have loved to have landed some more body shots, but it weren't for tonight, maybe in the future. But
look, we've all seen fights that seem one-sided at first glance, but this one has layers you can't ignore. Jake Paul is now calling for an immediate rematch with Anthony Joshua after suffering a brutal, emphatic knockout, and honestly, it's hard not to laugh at the audacity. He barely survived the bout, walked away with a broken jaw, and still talks like he's ready for another go. Fans online are tearing him apart for it, questioning whether he belongs anywhere near elite-level boxing. This wasn't a sharp, in-control performance from Paul, and excuses don't change that. Objectively, demanding a rematch after being so comprehensively dismantled feels detached from reality. Joshua, meanwhile, responds with calm authority, referencing the finishing shot and subtly shutting the whole idea down. The contrast is glaring. One fighter firmly in control of the narrative, the other sounding desperate after being exposed.
It's with the cruiserweight division where the guys are the same size as him.
David Haye brings some much-needed realism into the discussion. His message is clear and uncomfortable. Jumping straight into fights with elite heavyweights like Joshua is wildly beyond Jake Paul's current level. Without years of elite training, seasoning, and experience, these ambitions aren't just reckless, they're dangerous. Haye's advice is blunt but fair. Paul needs to operate in a division and against opponents that actually reflect his ability, because this level of competition shows just how far out of his depth he really is. For Logan, Paul steps in to defend his brother, praising Jake's toughness and heart. On the surface, it sounds supportive, but read closely and it almost feels like a backhanded compliment. Yes, Jake showed grit by staying in there, and that courage deserves acknowledgement. But toughness doesn't erase the reality that Joshua dominated him from start to finish. Fans see Logan's words as confirmation that resilience alone can't cover up massive skill gaps that were obvious to everyone watching.
In my opinion, he won 4 of them. People will argue that he at least won 3. No one expected him to last that long. Rolled his ankle, broke his jaw, still fucking fighting, man. Like, that's toughness. You know, most people wouldn't have the balls ever to step in a boxing ring in their life. He stepped in a boxing ring with one of the baddest men on the planet.
Eddie Hearn's post-fight comments quietly reinforce what was already clear. Jake Paul's toughness never posed a real threat to Anthony Joshua. Paul circled, moved, and tried to survive, but AJ's brief ring rust was the only minor obstacle he faced. Once Joshua settled in, he controlled everything with ease. From Hearn's perspective, this wasn't a test, it was a showcase. Paul was never more than a temporary inconvenience, not a legitimate challenge. Dave Allen acknowledges Paul's fitness and survival instincts, and those points are fair. But they don't change the underlying truth. Technically, this fight was completely one-sided. Paul's effort might earn him respect from casual fans, but it also highlights how little he threatened Joshua at any stage. Surviving isn't the same as competing, and this was a harsh lesson in what it looks like to be truly outclassed by a world-class professional.
Well, the fight was, it weren't a fight, was it? It was really, really one-sided. Jake Paul, yeah, I've got to give him credit really, because he's super fit. He's pretty clever really. Like, he'd make a good,
Ariel Helwani captures the reality perfectly. Facing Anthony Joshua is terrifying for anyone, especially someone still new to boxing at this level. Paul's punches carried little meaning against Joshua's reach, power, and precision built over years. Courage was there, no question, but bravery alone can't bridge a gulf this wide. Fans can respect Paul for stepping in, while also clearly seeing the mismatch in experience and skill. At several moments, it felt like the fight could end at any second. David Haye's deeper breakdown makes the situation even clearer. Paul's game plan, run, move, hope for a miracle punch, was strategically weak. All it really achieved was prolonged punishment and serious injury. Hart deserves some credit, but absorbing damage doesn't validate someone as a legitimate contender. Haye's analysis
And every time he threw a punch, I like winced, because he's a big man and he's an incredible boxer and he's still in his prime, and he's got a very long reach, and he's got a lot of power in that right hand, and that left hook is terrifying as well.
We got a knockout, everyone was expecting it. It's very difficult to pin someone down when they're not trying to engage. Jake's game plan was a good one, was to use lateral movement and the hope to land a big overhand right at some stage to catch AJ off guard. Didn't quite work out, but you got to give Jake credit. Took some big shots there. You probably think he's got a broken jaw or some spitting blood at the end of the fight. No, anything's possible. He gave it a go. He dared to be great. Didn't work out for him, understandably. That's why he was such a massive.
Vital Riley points out the irony in Paul's pursuit of legitimacy. Joshua's dominant performance didn't elevate Paul. It elevated Joshua even further, exposing Paul's limitations in front of a massive audience. What was meant to be a proving moment turned into confirmation that Paul is still viewed as a novelty. The rematch talk only makes that disconnect from reality more obvious.
AJ's win today was the bread. AJ's win today was the exposure to more people. Even though he's mad famous, as we know, like, there's a community he hasn't touched, and I think he touched.
I thought Joshua did what he had to do. It took him a while to get it. He had to break him down and chase it down and unleash those.
Joseph Parker's take strips it down to the basics. Joshua broke Paul down methodically, round by round. Paul's movement and wild shots never troubled him. For a seasoned heavyweight, dismantling a YouTuber-turned-boxer wasn't a challenge. The fight served as a clear demonstration that bravery doesn't equal elite-level ability, and that gap was impossible to ignore.
But I think Jake fought a very, how do I survive long enough to land a right hand type of fight, and it made it a little difficult for AJ to get his timing. No excuses. AJ didn't look great, I'll be honest. He didn't look great. Didn't look like, an AJ we thought we were going to get, the marauder, the guy that was going to come forward and bang out Jake in one.
The strategic breakdown from the Nisa and Wade perspective says it all. Paul's plan boiled down to survival and hope. That isn't elite boxing strategy. Even on an off night, Joshua was never under threat. Paul looked more focused on lasting than competing, reinforcing the idea that he's still viewed as an attraction, not a genuine contender deserving top-tier opposition.
The fact that Jake is safe, and more so that he showed his heart. I don't know if you guys were looking on Twitter, but until about 20 minutes ago, the #1 trending thing on Twitter wasn't Jake Paul getting knocked out, wasn't Jake Paul, wasn't Anthony Joshua. It literally was the...
Darian addresses the social media frenzy that followed. Yes, Jake Paul trended. Yes, there was respect online. But context matters. He was trending because he was dismantled on a global stage. Social media loves underdog narratives, but hype doesn't reflect reality. Strip it all away and the truth remains. Paul survived, but at a heavy cost, and survival doesn't equal legitimacy.
I could have knocked him out at the start, but as we saw tonight, Jake has spirit. He has some heart. He tried his best, and I take my hat off to him because, #1, a lot of fighters haven't got in the ring with me.
Joshua's comments about respect highlight the core issue. He credits Paul's courage for stepping in, but that's where the praise ends. Heart and spirit are admirable, but they can't replace skill, experience, and ring IQ. Joshua's tone subtly reinforces the massive gap between them. Fans can respect Paul's bravery while still acknowledging he was thoroughly outclassed in every technical sense.
Hey, Joshua looked good, dude.
Joshua looked good.
He looked good right off.
Joshua looked like he was fighting a guy that was...
Daniel Cormier sums it up bluntly. Joshua looked like an elite champion. Paul looked like a YouTuber out of his depth. Every exchange showed the gap in class and experience. Paul's confidence before the fight faded into futility once it began. This wasn't competitive, it was a demonstration of why elite boxing can't be shortcut. So now the question is yours. Do Paul's rematch demands make sense, or is this the moment he accepts the limits of his boxing journey and steps back to a more appropriate level? Drop your thoughts and let's settle this debate.